Welcome back to this next part of the seminar. Before we start, I want you to sit back, think a bit of what you've learned. Be sure that you are biologically replenished. So just push pause now and reflect for a moment. I assume that you are back, that you press play, and that we can continue with this part of the seminar. Let's look at the next slide. I'm going to revise the hypothalamus with you, and especially in relation to resilience, and just demonstrate how important this is to ensure that we are resilient. Remember, the hypothalamus is a very small structure on top of the brainstem. It is the newest part of the brainstem, the oldest part of the limbic system, which is important for emotion and drives the emotional process, really. And remember, emotion is all about moving us away. Motion, E is away, motion is move. Moving us away from what is bad, the threats, and moving us towards what is good to maximize rewards. And the hypothalamus is instrumental in the process downstream, in relation to the brainstem, in relation to the wellness rhythms, in relation to the rhythms of breathing, heart rate, hunger, thirst, sleep, wake cycle, and also bonding. And it is instrumental upstream to ensure that our system is in a relaxed physiological state, to ensure that we are ready to perform at our best. So the hypothalamus is really an instrumental little structure, and it also ensures, as a starting point, to be driving us into a goal-directed state. Goal-directed state refers to us being goal-directed, of course, to maximize rewards, to avoid threats, of which the latter, avoiding threats, is 4 to 6 times as readily as this idea of maximizing rewards. So inherently, we are afraid because one threat, if we don't pay attention to it, can kill us. And if one reward slips us by or slips by and we don't maximize it, well, there might be another reward. So this is the thinking behind this idea. So the hypothalamus is also known as the eye turned inward. It receives information from the outside and then looks into the body and ensures that everything is really in synchronicity. So that almost the inside world or the inner world needs to be in sync with the outer world. And if there is a problem, some discrepancy, the hypothalamus will respond by activating the system to discharge and really get back into this synchronicity state. So you and I really need these wellness rhythms, and we need to be in sync with the outer world. Now, the hypothalamus do this, for instance, the best example really is the day-night cycle, the circadian rhythms. The hypothalamus has 40,000 neurons in one small little area where it really just receives the light and ensures that the light-darkness cycles are well synced, and that we have a process that in the brainstem that really sets us up for a good sleep-wake rhythm. It switches us off when we need to be switched off to fall asleep, and then switches us on again to wake us up. It's an amazingly complicated but a beautiful little process that you and I have, and it's driven by the hypothalamus, the so-called suprachiasmatic nucleus. Now that is probably very unrelated to this discussion, but it just really illustrates how intricately the hypothalamus is assigned with this task of ensuring that you and I have rhythms. And you and I need this as high performance. We need to be in rhythm. We need the wellness rhythms. But what I really want to show you when we get to this point of the hypothalamus in its relation to resilience as well is this idea that the hypothalamus drives bonding. It drives trust. The little yellow stalk with the pear-shaped structure that you see underneath here, attached to the hypothalamus, is the pituitary gland. And amongst others, it secretes a hormone called oxytocin. And oxytocin is essential for bonding. It's secreted when we are immersed in activities of what we call intimacy, and intimacy meaning that we are entrusting ourselves to somebody else. So if I have somebody I love and care for, whether that's a spouse or a child, or a brother or sister or a very good friend, or even stroking a pet that we love dearly, we secrete oxytocin. And the oxytocin is important because it ensures that we have trust on board. Trust forms the core of the social safety process. You cannot really be socially safe unless you have a organic family who is really covering you, protecting you, and who has your back. And I said organic family because, often we think about our siblings, our brothers and sisters. We form an attachment with a number of friends who replaces, in a sense, this biological siblinghood, and then we have an organic family who look after us and who we look after. So, and that happens fairly frequently and is perfectly normal. So this is an example of what we really are looking for deep down within the social safety core when we think about bonding. And to build resilience and to be resilient, you need this. I would think, and also from the system, the NeuroZone system, we now derived from statistical analysis that this bonding and the next component, sense of belonging, identity, and meaningfulness, this whole social safety model, if you may, is really essential for resilience and for high performance within teams. Let's build this a little illustration. So there you see in at the center, the hypothalamus, and we just talked about this. So the hypothalamus is at the center. If you think about resilience and you think about the weightedness within this driver system, if you think about the model that we built, I'm going to just demonstrate to you a number of drivers that would be the most weighted drivers to ensure that we are resilient. And I'm taking you back to this little structure again. Bear in mind that the hypothalamus in the center is very well and richly connected with these two structures, the amygdala and the hippocampus. Hippocampus being the problem-solving brain take-off, if you may, and the amygdala is really at the seat of emotion and driving the social safety urge that we have, essentially belonging, identity, and meaningfulness. So the hypothalamus, amygdala axis are not only instrumental for the stress response, but they are instrumental to ensure and through the cues that come in, unconsciously so, to ensure that we are socially safe. Now there you see the two structures on top of the hypothalamus, the two amygdalas, the one on the right, one on the left, and also this idea of inhibition or blockage or prevention of chronic stress. To prevent chronic stress, to have this system switched off, and to ensure that we remain in a baseline, relaxed physiological state, which is a state of silent alertness, and by no means apathetic, and by no means over-relaxation. There's focus, and unconscious focus, and awareness, to ensure that we are in this state, which really sets us up for high performance on a continuous basis throughout the day. You want these amygdalas and the hypothalamus to be happy that we are socially safe. And if we are not, the chronic stress response may just well be the result, and brain-body system implosion will follow when there's decompensation of the whole system. So what you really want is the amygdalas and the hypothalamus just to be switched in a mode where it promotes the relaxed physiological state. Building this illustration up, you can see bonding driven by the hypothalamus, secreted through the pituitary gland that is connected to the hypothalamus, not illustrated here, but remember that bonding is really related to the hypothalamus, the core, the center of the brain. And then you can see bonding at the core of the social safety model. Sense of belonging, identity, and meaningfulness on top of that, related to the amygdala and the pathways from the amygdalas to the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. It's very important to understand that these are two different pathways and they are two different things. You need bonding and you need belonging, identity, and meaningfulness. Belonging, identity, and meaningfulness speaks to culture, the way we do things. We belong in a group, in a tribe. So the whole tribal idea, the whole idea that we are part of a social network, that has got to do with a sense of belonging, identity, and meaningfulness. And even Facebook, if you think about it, and the cyber network that can give us the sense of belonging. This is where it plays in from the amygdala to the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, whereas bonding and trust is something that we currently view is not something you can find in the network so easily, and that's also where danger lurks. Bonding and entrustment is something that you really want to do with people around you who you can trust and who you can entrust yourself with. And you potentially need a number of senses to integrate, of which smell plays an important role. So bonding is a very physical thing. It means that we need each other in physical environments and spaces where we can trust each other and entrust ourselves to one another, and to be sure that we are being looked after and cared for. Whereas sense of belonging, identity, and meaningfulness speaks to culture. It speaks to the values. What are our common values? What is important for us, and how do we then flock together around those values to ensure that we achieve the goals we need to achieve, and that we are purposefully and through intent purposefully aligned. So this is the sense of belonging, identity, and meaningfulness concept. It's worthwhile to think about that in terms of entrustment and culture. And we need both. And the hypothalamus amygdala pathway in this picture play a cardinal role in ensuring that this happens. At this point, I want you to take a break. We will continue in the next part at exactly the same point, and we will continue to build the seminar, and so the three parts will stand together as a continuum of effectively one topic being dealt with efficiently. But take a break now, just relax, move around, and just come back to the next part when you are ready and replenished again. Don't forget, you are a biological system and you need these periods of rest in between.